A Wichita couple has been living a nightmare after they say someone broke into their home, took all of their things, and claimed it all as her own. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Scott.
And I'm Deb Farris. Tonight, a Cake News investigation into what happened and why county officials say the woman is part of a sovereign group that doesn't think she has to follow the law.
No, get out of my house, lady. Get out of my house. Look what they destroyed my house right there.
A panicked and angry Miriam Garcia recorded this video on her cell phone in April.
Get out of my house. This is the lady that got into my house. Steal all my stuff.
Garcia and her husband Frank say this woman, Letitia Michaud, broke into their South Wichita home, destroyed the place, and stole everything valuable inside, then claimed the house was hers.
Me and my wife were mad, upset for this. And like I said, we didn't expect it. We didn't expected this to happen to us.
The nightmare began when the Garcias moved to California to find work. They kept their home in Wichita, paying their mortgage and bills with every intent of coming back. But in April, a friend called to say something wasn't right.
There's lights on in the house, and it looks like they changed the locks, and there might be somebody living inside the house.
Worried, they borrowed $1,500 from relatives to fly back home. And what they found, well, was shocking.
We tried our keys, and nothing worked. So we have to go in through the back of the house. The door was broken.
They found Michaud inside.
Stay away from me.
She told the Garcias they no longer owned the house.
Get out of my house.
This is not your house.
It is my house,
No,
lady.
it's not your house. No.
Okay.
Sorry, not no more.
And that she filed the proper paperwork to prove that she was now the lawful owner. Michaud filed these documents with the Sedgwick County Register of Deeds and printed the change of ownership in the Great Bend newspaper.
Well, I'm Deb Farris with Cake News.
Michaud lives just down the street from the Garcias' home. At first, she declined to comment, but then...
If I see this on the news, I promise I'm going to sue Cake TV.
But
it doesn't matter.
All I want to know is your side
It
of
doesn't.
the story.
It doesn't matter about my side of the story.
So you don't care if
It
we hear
doesn't
the
matter
story without
because,
your
for
side.
number one,
When we tried to ask her about the house, she said she did nothing wrong.
But how can you take over
look,
someone's
I'm not
house?
taking over nothing.
You were in their house.
Let me tell you something. It was an abandoned property. Ain't nobody. No one is trying to steal anything.
Did you call the police?
I did not call the police. Call the police for what? Because it's our responsibility as a community to make sure that our community is safe from drug activity, from vagabonds, from squatters, and all of this stuff.
Why don't you just call the city and say, hey, this house is a problem?
Yep. That works real well. That works real well.
But so you, and I'm just asking, so you took the law into your own hands by...
I don't do law.
The Register of Deeds says Michaud is a member of what's called a sovereign citizens group, and that members don't believe the laws apply to them. Michaud would only say she follows the laws of God. She refused to answer any of our questions and walked away.
I'm up on my porch again. I have a pistol. When you don't announce yourself, you did not announce yourself.
The Garcias worked with the county to straighten everything out and made it very clear this is private property.
If she's going to keep doing this to working people and people who making sacrifice, she needs to be stopped. She needs to be put in jail.
The Garcias filed a police report listing everything now missing from their home, including appliances, power tools, and a $10,000 baseball card collection. Police are still investigating.
You go to sell your home and you find out you can't. Someone filed a false lien against it. That's exactly what local officials say members of a group that don't think the law applies to them have been doing in Sedgwick County for years now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Scott.
And I'm Deb Farris. They do it as a form of revenge. But now if someone does it, he or she could end up in prison. It's not out of the ordinary for Sedgwick County Chief Judge Jeff Gehring to make people mad.
This is just one of those things that, judges are expected to deal with.
Maybe an angry letter or an outburst during court, but what happened a few months ago was, well, a little disturbing.
The litigant's mother filed a fraudulent lien against my home, against the judge presiding over the case's home, and against the home of the clerk of the court.
It all started with a conviction in a Sedgwick County courtroom. Gehring says the defendant's mother was unhappy with the outcome and took it out on him by filing liens against the homes of the 3 people involved in the case, including Judge Gehring. And right now, that's not illegal.
No one can track them down, so it's a very low-risk way for those folks to harass elected officials or to harass people that, they choose to harass.
He's talking about people associated with sovereign citizens groups who don't believe laws apply to them. In this case, a woman who calls herself Letitia of the family of Michaud filed the false lien. The Register of Deeds says these groups file false liens all the time. The numbers have ramped up recently.
The last 2 months, we're getting a lot of paperwork up here.
Sedgwick County Sheriff Jeff Easter is no stranger to the filings. Sovereign groups send him letters and filings all the time. This one outlining a fee schedule, saying if an officer questions or interrogates, detains, harasses, searches, handcuffs, or incarcerates one of their people, the sheriff owes them 1 to 5 ounces of gold per hour.
Since we didn't respond, I owe him $1 million, and from this day on, $1,000 a day.
But things became frightening in March. The sheriff says it was a sovereign group called the Moorish Republic that sent a toxic white powder to the courthouse.
It is alarming. If they're going to rise to that level to put an irritant into an envelope, could they rise to a different level?
The finance clerk who opened that letter ended up in the hospital, and emergency crews evacuated the courthouse. Investigators tracked the senders of that letter to a small town in Colorado. The FBI arrested Danny and Valerie Barker for threatening to kidnap a federal bankruptcy judge. The couple is being extradited to Wichita to face charges. Cake News Investigates found the Barkers' names on several Moorish National Republic documents filed in the Sedgwick County Register of Deeds office.
They put powder in somebody's envelope, and before they exhaust these, just go to terroristic measures, we know that they are not really a part of our community.
Mahdi El says he's the magistrate of the Moorish American Unified Judiciary. By Zoom and from Philadelphia, he says anyone who threatens government leaders in the Moorish name isn't part of his group.
These people are becoming overly frustrated and resorting to even more, harmful tactics, harming themselves and others, as I call it.
In the meantime, the Attorney General's office had to file court documents to get the false liens removed from Judge Gehring's home, but he was fortunate.
An average citizen who is experiencing this sort of thing may not even know that a fraudulent lien has been filed against their real estate until they get to the point where they sell their home or try to transfer title to their home.
Judge Gehring and the sheriff both testified before the legislature this session and helped to get a law passed to make it a felony to file a false lien in Kansas. That begins on July 1st. If convicted, you could face stiff fines or end up in prison.